I'll never forget the first words she ever said to me. Not hi. Not can I help you? Just a sharp, panicked, "Sir, I'm calling the police right now. You don't belong here." That was it. No preamble. No curiosity. Just straight to DEFCON 1. What Karen didn't know, and I say Karen, not because that's her real name, but because it might as well be, was that I'd closed on that duplex 2 days prior. I was the new owner. I was out there on a bright Saturday morning with my coffee in the cup holder. My toolbox open, replacing the deadbolt on Unit A, the vacant half, before light renovations. I was in a hoodie and jeans, kneeling at the door, fully in my own world. Until her voice cut through it like a rusty knife. Now, I know the type. Lived in the same house for a dozen years. Thinks familiarity equals ownership. Thinks skin tone is a crime. She came storming across her lawn, yoga pants and oversized sunglasses, clutching her phone like it was a crucifix. "This is private property," she said. Voice already cracking with that performance energy. I stood up, wiped my hands on my jeans. "Yeah, my property," I said, calm, friendly. "Closed on it Wednesday. Name's Marcus Jones." I extended my hand. You would have thought I was holding out a dead rat. She didn't take it, just stepped back and started filming. No joke. She hid behind her mailbox like it was cover in a war zone and narrated into her phone like she was a wildlife reporter. This male individual appears to be attempting a break-in. Possibly under the influence. Aggressive. Aggressive? I hadn't even raised my voice. But I knew how this went. I've seen it before. So I stayed put, arms at my sides, calm, collected. The cops came fast, too fast, honestly 2 squad cars, sirens blaring like I was a meth dealer instead of a landlord changing a lock. First officer walks up, sees my ID, the deed. The realtor email still pulled up on my phone. Gives me a once-over, then relaxes. "You're the guy from the Channel 9 piece, right? Did the downtown historic property flips?" "That's me," I said, with a shrug and a smile. And then, right behind him, here comes Karen, still at it. "You're really just going to take his word for it? I know the owners. He's forging that paper." The cop just sighs. "Ma'am, he owns the property. Everything checks out." I swear, you could see the soul leave her body. She stammered something about just being cautious. "How? You can't be too careful." And I looked her dead in the eye and said, "You're absolutely right. That's why I'm changing the locks. Gotta protect my property." Her eyes did a double take. "Your property?" she said, like the phrase didn't compute. I nodded. The whole duplex. Both units. A and B. Tossed the keys in the air and caught them for effect. And that's when she realized I wasn't breaking in. I was her new landlord. She froze. Face flushed. Lips pressed so tight you'd think she was chewing a lemon rind. Then, without another word, she spun around and stomped back into Unit B, the side she lived in. Slammed the door hard enough to shake the porch. I thought maybe that'd be the end of it. Maybe she was embarrassed enough to let it go. Spoiler, she wasn't. Later that day, I came back from Home Depot and found a note shoved under my windshield wiper. Handwritten. No name. No signature. But unmistakable Karen handwriting. Angry cursive, like the letters were yelling at each other. It read, "You may own this place, but that doesn't mean you're welcome here. People like you ruin neighborhoods. People like me." I laughed. Didn't get angry. Just took a picture of it, filed it away, and added security cameras to my to-do list. By the next morning, she'd already escalated. New note, this time taped to the front door of Unit A in thick red marker. "This neighborhood has standards. No soliciting. No unregistered business activity. We will report you." "We," I muttered. "We is just you, Karen." She was on her porch pretending to read a book, eyes darting over the top, like I couldn't see her watching me. I gave her a little wave. She pulled out her phone and started filming again, muttering, still loitering. This is being documented. Petty wasn't just a personality trait, it was a calling. By Saturday, she'd filed complaints with the HOA, 5 of them, about unauthorized structural modifications. I'd replaced a doorknob and a broken light fixture. That's it. But she made it sound like I was bulldozing the place for a parking garage. She even went through my recycling bin. Caught her red-handed, literally, holding a bottle cap, and I said, "Looking for something, Karen?" "You're violating disposal protocols," she shouted. "Plastic caps go in a separate container." I raised my soda. "Well, help yourself if it matters that much." She didn't respond. Just stormed off like I'd insulted her ancestors. Monday, I got a fine notice from the HOA. $200. Improper parking, my contractor's van had one wheel on the grass. And exterior clutter, a single ladder left against the wall for 10 minutes during gutter cleaning. It was laughable, but I saw the game. It wasn't about the rules. It was about control, noise, exhaustion. People like her want to wear you down with nonsense until you give up. But me? I don't give up. I lawyered up. My buddy Derek, landlord, tenant law, and HOA stuff, laughed so hard he nearly choked when I told him. He said, document everything. Don't fight. Just record. She'll trip over her own drama eventually. So I did. Installed high-def cameras. Kept all the notes. Recorded every trash bin ambush and mailbox monologue. Even left her a gift, a basket of muffins and a note that said, looking forward to a peaceful tenant-landlord relationship. Please use official channels if needed. Warm regards, Marcus. She didn't eat the muffins. Next day, she filed a complaint that my welcome mat was inappropriate. It said, come back with tacos. I replaced it with one that said, Karen lives next door. Wave with caution. 2 hours later, another complaint. Then came the garbage cans blocking the side gate, obviously shoved there to prevent access. Caught her at 6:13 a.m. on camera, dragging them in her bathrobe like a gremlin with a mission. But what she didn't know was that the HOA, her precious weapon, was quietly shifting. A few longtime owners were sick of her antics and were willing to sell their voting shares. So I bought them, quietly, enough to have influence. Showed up at the next HOA meeting not as that new guy from Unit A, but as the newest board member. When Karen walked in and saw me seated at the table, she physically recoiled like I was a ghost. She blurted out, he's on the board? Board President Steve, bless his unbothered heart, said, yep, legally and properly. He owns 15% of the votes. Let's proceed. Then came the fun part. Steve pulled out a stack of papers and said, Karen, you filed 14 complaints in 2 weeks. 10 were against Mr. Jones. One was about a welcome mat. Karen started ranting. How I was destroying the character of the neighborhood, how standards were crumbling. She never said anything overtly racist, but the dog whistles were loud and clear. Steve cut her off. We're here to talk about governance, not gatekeeping. The board voted 6-1 to censure her for harassment. Her vote was the one. She stormed out of that meeting like the building had insulted her personally. 2 days later, she dumped a bag of trash on my porch. On camera. Again, I didn't get mad. I emailed the footage to the board, labeled it Trash Fairy Caught in the Act. Ordered a second camera just for fun. Then came the final blow. She stopped paying rent. 2 months, 0 payment. Said I wasn't a legitimate landlord. I gave her 15 days notice. She taped her rebuttal over it, handwritten. I dispute this eviction. I filed the paperwork. Legally. Methodically. Calm. Meanwhile, she threw a rally in her backyard called Stop the Tyrant Landlord. 3 people showed up. One was a confused DoorDash driver. The real twist? A neighbor had been quietly recording the whole saga. Sent it to a local news station. They ran a story, HOA leader evicted by her own landlord. Karen went viral. Her employer saw it. She got fired. The eviction went through. She didn't pack. Didn't prepare. Just screamed when the sheriff showed up and slammed doors like she was fighting gravity. As the moving truck pulled away, neighbors cheered. I didn't say a word. Just watered the garden. She glared at me and hissed, you're ruining this neighborhood. I clipped a dead bloom and said, no, Karen. I'm saving it. No? The block's peaceful. The new tenants are teachers. Quiet. Kind. We have porch chats. Potlucks. No angry notes. No bogus fines. Just sunshine and quiet. And just when I thought it was over, a black SUV pulled into the house across the street. Out stepped Karen, clipboard in hand. Didn't see me yet, but I saw her, and I smiled. Because she didn't know, I bought that house too. What would you have done in my shoes? Was I too calm, too patient, or just right? Drop a comment. Let me know where you stand on petty power plays, HOA wars, and when enough is enough. And hey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who's had their own run-in with a Karen. Let's keep the stories coming.